Now, there's this interesting thing that we tend to do as humans, and it's we'll quite happily weigh up the cost of trying to achieve our health and body transformation goals. And in fact, the cost of achieving any goal. It's like, oh, in order to get a better body or to be healthier, fitter, leaner, stronger, that means I've got to give up all my favorite treats, sweets, and snacks. It means I've got to spend money on a gym membership or on a personal trainer. It means I've got to take time away from my family. It means I've got to take time away from my business or my job, and so on. And we'll look at the costs of achieving this thing. And then quite often we will use that to justify not taking the actions we know we need to take in order to have the body and the health that we actually want. But very rarely do we actually sit there and go, okay, well, that's the cost of doing so. But what is the cost of me not fixing my health, fixing my body, getting the body I want, and therefore essentially giving myself the opportunity to increase my confidence, my self-esteem, my actual love for myself, and so on? Like, what is the cost of me not taking these actions and therefore staying fat, unhealthy, tired, overweight, and all the rest of it? So the interesting place that we tend to come to when we actually give ourselves the opportunity to do that is we realize that the cost is not just the immediate outlay. So it's like, oh, well, if I don't, then I'll just sort of stay unhealthy, I'll stay overweight, I won't get the body I want. And that's how it kind of seems on the surface, like, no, it isn't that big a deal. But what we often don't realize is the accumulative effect of what this is stopping us from doing. So for many of us, because we're unhealthy, overweight, and so on, we lack confidence in ourselves. So therefore, for example, if we're single, that might prevent us going and putting ourselves out there and actually finding the relationship that we want. If we're in a relationship, it prevents us showing up as a strong, confident leader in the family. So we instead kind of go around as this meek version of self that won't really assert what we want. Or if we do, it's done through tyranny rather than through a sense of true power. So it's this place where we're like, I want to be fitter, leaner, stronger, but it's too much for me to do it. It costs too much. I've got to give up too many things. But we don't also realize that we're actually giving up things by not. So as well as affecting our relationships and just on the surface level, it also affects our ability to connect and be intimate with our partner. Because most of us, if we're unhappy with our body and we hate the body we have and we're embarrassed by it, and therefore we try to hide it, that's going to prevent you showing up as a confident lover in the relationship. So now it's going to affect your sex life as well. It's going to affect your ability to show up and be active and play with your kids in the way that you want. It's going to affect your ability to show up confidently in your business or in your profession and lead a team, for example. That's not to say you can't lead a team, but you can't lead it at the same level that you would if you were inside a vessel that you were actually proud of. So, you know, if you were actually strong and confident in yourself because you had a body that you could be proud of, then you're able to actually display that more effectively in the real world. Plus, of course, we avoid the potential knock-on and chaotic effects of if we develop some kind of metabolic disease or illness. Oh, shit, now I've got cancer because I didn't take care of myself. Shit, now I've got heart disease. Now I've got diabetes and high blood pressure and all the rest of it. And the knock-on effects that those things will also have on our family and the safety of our family in terms of financial security into the future and so on. So yes, it's one thing to go, oh, well, it's going to cost me all these various so-called sacrifices in order to get healthy and lose weight and have the body I want. But quite often, when we truly sit and weigh it up, the cost of not far exceeds the cost of doing so. But you have to be willing to sit with yourself and actually go through that as an exercise in order to get clear on the facts at the end of the day. Because many of us are very good at sort of staying up at this level of fantasy where it's, oh, it's not that big a deal. Whereas when we truly get honest with ourselves about the facts of actually, if I do not do this, if I do not learn how to make me the non-negotiable, then it's going to end up potentially causing this problem and this problem and this problem and this one. That's aside from the problems that it's already likely causing, but maybe not quite at the extreme level that it could in time. But the problem is, of course, it shouldn't be affecting your life negatively in any way. But it does because we fail to address it. We fail to acknowledge the truth about the cost to us when we don't, when we sit back and when we ignore and we delay and so on. The cost of that far exceeds what we perceive it to be, because quite often we won't allow ourselves to get down to the truth and the facts of it that will actually highlight how important it is for us to actually start taking care of ourselves and looking after ourselves. So that is my question for you guys tonight. Have you ever really considered or ever truly considered the cost of not taking care of yourself, the cost of not getting the healthy, the fit, the lean, the strong body that you actually want, that will enable you to step up and be the person that you know you were called to be, but struggle to do so because you're within a body that you're embarrassed by, ashamed by, and ultimately a body that doesn't allow you to express who you truly are. So that's my question for you tonight, guys. Of course, feel free to drop your comments and your answers in the comments below. I'd love to hear them, love to read them. And if you want me to answer any other questions that you may have, drop those in the comments as well, and I will get them answered in my next video. Take it easy, people, and I shall chat to you.